Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. Hope that everybody had a great day. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, I hope that you got everything out of it that you want. For those who still use this time, though you don't celebrate Christmas, to spend time with family and fellowship and love on one another. Hope that you enjoy that. I was not planning on coming to you today, but there are some things that have been just dropping in front of me that I cannot ignore. And I am reluctantly coming to you to address them. And it comes with heat and smoke because of just how sectarian and schismatic we are as a people, how we choose sides and anchor in instead of looking for the purity of concept, purity of philosophy, purity of ideology, and understanding that no one is perfect and no one has all the answers. And we all come with skeletons in our closet and so forth. I have done everything in my power to keep from being a person who is judgmental or critical of people who are actually trying to put in work to do something for our people. I believe that everybody has the capacity to do so in their own way. And I've done everything that I can to not be a part of the drama mill that seems to just churn anytime there seems to be any momentum built. And I'm here now because I am forced to make a stand and speak clearly on something that I hold dear to me. I am very big on respecting the elders and the ancestors, not because they were perfect, not because they had all the answers, but because they stood up and fought. They stood up and fought, they sacrificed, and they gave. And when I look at it, I look at how Dr. Welsing was attacked, almost immediately after her death by Mark Lamont Hill. I've seen some other things happen with Dr. Khalid Muhammad and things of that nature. And then, there are those that are still with us, but aging, specifically and currently Dr. Claud Anderson has come under constant and consistent attack by specific headship and leadership from Antonio Moore, Yvette Carnell with ADOS. I have said from the beginning that from a concept perspective, I agree with ADOS. I believe that our unique experiences here in the U.S. put us in a position of where we need to understand that and have that as an identity. Those who haven't gone through this experience or are not descendants of the experience can't possibly relate and have the motivation to move forward in some of the things that need to be done and are not righteously do what we are fighting for. But at the same time, I also am a believer in the Pan-African ideology, which Brother Garvey proved can be quite powerful when we understand it and utilize it and embrace it in the right way. I'm not one for looking for all the ways we don't agree. I'm not one to go find everything that I can about what we don't get along on and what we can't get along on for the sake of trying to force people to choose a side. I'm more about saying, hey, how can we take what our ancestors and our elders have done, find the weaknesses and strengthen them, take the strengths and grow and enhance them. But when I see an elder that has clearly put in much time, much energy, much effort, much sacrifice, put a target on his back, lived his life, been on call constantly. I had the privilege of working briefly by way of phone and email when I was putting together the blueprint for Black empowerment a number of years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, with Dr. Anderson and his wife, Joanne, who stood between us because she said that anything that had to do with it, if you tell him, he's going to say yes. And he's aging and he's not as strong as he used to be. And she was like his protector. But I got to get some of their input. And my thing is, it's not about the perfection of his model or his ideology. It's about understanding it and trying to gain some knowledge and put ourselves ahead of the curve. I'm not one for trying to place myself in a position that says I'm better or smarter or more intellectually gathered or more experienced. What I can tell you as a business owner is that you won't find anyone who's been in the game long enough, no matter how astute they are at business, how well versed they are at business, how well versed they are at finance, that can tell you that they never made a mistake, that they didn't have a bad business venture, that they didn't find themselves in a position where they were cash strapped. Some of your best business people have been successful because they know how to work the um, bankruptcy code in order to restructure debt so that they can get out of debt so that they can continue to move forward. Many have done it. Shoot, your own president has done it multiple times. It does not mean that you don't understand business, does not mean that you don't understand economics. It simply means that you made a bad choice or you trusted a market that you probably shouldn't have trusted. I looked at the things that happened with Dr. Anderson, that he's being attacked for a failed business venture in which he owes a black bank, and he's taken legal action to protect himself against the debt. And there are a number of ways to look at that. And my thing is, who's most likely able to absorb the hit from the failed business venture? More than likely the bank. So in that case, that's a part of what a bank does, and it's a risk. As a business person, if he's going to protect his assets, he's going to take an approach that protects it. Does that look pro-black? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. My thing is, I don't think that's why he's being attacked. I think it's personal. I think it's ego driven. I'm sorry to say it. I think that we've got to really look at this. Is he perfect? Does everything he say, has everything he said or taught been on the line? Absolutely not. No, it hasn't. But what I can tell you is a lot of what he has taught is solid based on what was available at the time. We're evolving, and we're evolving rapidly from an economic perspective, from a political perspective, from a geopolitical perspective. We are evolving. What worked 10 years ago doesn't work now. And you can easily get caught up in trying to do something with the old rules in the old way, and it will not work. And so my thing is, I think that we don't owe the elders a pass in the sense of saying they were perfect. We don't owe them a pass in the sense of saying that they were never wrong. But we do owe them the respect of being elders and having been on the battlefield, having fought for this guy for decades. And until you put that kind of time in, you have to be very careful about how you go after someone like that because they're not on the same page. Now, my thing is, this man did an interview on the Breakfast Club, Dr. Claud Anderson, and not once did he mention Tone, Yvette, or ADOS, but they're coming for him. And I personally think, and I refrained from really getting into it then, except for the fact that I didn't like the fact that he was being attacked, but I kind of stayed back. But this goes all the way back to the beef that Yvette had with Dr. Boyce Watkins. And after that, shortly after that, Dr. Anderson and Boyce Watkins aligned and did some things together, and he became a target. I'm not sure if he said something directly or specifically about ADOS. I haven't heard it, but there's word out that he did. I haven't heard it. I haven't seen it. But what I have seen is a consistent assault coming from one direction. And some of it is because people who follow him are weighing in on his behalf. That's not him. You can't start something and disrespect someone because people who follow them are saying things that you don't like, because there are a lot of people out there that follow ADOS that's out saying some stuff that's absolutely absurd that I've never heard the leaders of ADOS say. But a lot of people are taking that as gospel because people are declaring that they're close to the organization and to the movement. And I don't think it would be fair for people to come after them and attack them for things that they have not said or promoted. I'm standing firm and I'm standing strong. And I know, especially with the channel having been taken down, I don't carry a lot of weight because YouTube crippled me. And, I don't have the background or, the years on the platform or the stage of a Dr. Anderson or, I don't have the following of a Yvette Carnell or Tony. That was never my case, my cause. That was never my purpose. My purpose was to take as much information and factual information and research in the areas that I've developed a level of expertise in and share it with the people and stand on what I do and learn from others and to join forces with others, but never to be a person that's out there trying to lift myself by attacking someone else. I gain nothing from it. Again, I'm not here for the popularity, not here for the likes, not here for the shares. My thing is, I think there's a way to make your stand. I think there's a way because I've seen some things that I didn't agree with. That have come from a number of people that are actually involved in this. And the way I handled it was I dealt with the issue and not the person. Never mentioned the person. I spoke on what the principle was and I kept it moving. That's a way to do things without being personal. And my thing is the reason I'm being as personal as I am now is because they're attacking an elder. And no, again, I don't believe that you give an elder a pass to do anything and say anything. I think, but when an elder has carried themselves in a way that you can go to so many different cities, so many different venues, so many different organizations and find what they've given themselves, many times with no pay, many times just simply on their own dime. I mean, literally doing that. I mean, research and putting things together and you see the work. No, it's not a finished work. No, it's not a perfect work. And I don't think we can demand that of any of our people that are out there. But when you've put that work in, I think you've earned that respect. I think that you have to earn that respect. There are things that my parents did that I knew were absolutely absurd and wouldn't work. There are things my parents did that I knew were outdated. There were things my parents did that I knew didn't make any sense whatsoever from an economic or a political perspective. I never once disrespected them. I never once came at them negatively, even when they thought what I was doing was foolish and I had the science to back what I was doing. I didn't come at them in a negative way. There's a respect that we have to have. That's a part of the culture. That's a part of the history. That's a part of how we raise ourselves emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. And I think that we can get so tied up with the levers and components of economics and politics that we lose sight of the culture, the spiritual element, and the power. And I think we are suffering because of it. I think that it is disrespectful, dishonorable to sit up and come after somebody and make the argument for the sake of clarity. You can clarify something without attacking someone. You can clarify something with still remaining and sustaining respect for someone. You can sit up and do those things. And again, pointing to someone's failed business venture as a way of pointing to the fact that they don't know what they're talking about is actually historically and from a strategic perspective, ludicrous. Every businessman has failed at business. Even the best businessmen fail at business. Even the best financiers take losses. So the fact that that was a loss in a business endeavor and that a black bank took the hit, that's a part of businesses. That's the thing. That's the risk that black banks take when they get involved. If they have the assets available, if they have, a reasonable amount of assets, they are built to take the hit. A lot of the hit will be written off. It's a part of business. They have that written into the risk. They have actuaries that sit up and work that stuff out to know what the risks are and to know how they'll recover before they ever take the loss. On the other hand, a loss like that he's protecting himself from could have sunk him and his business. That's business. That's how you do business. You don't get mad at people for doing business. Now, obviously, if I'm the bank, I'm not happy about it. But as a businessman, I understand what he did. And as the businessman, I've had to deal with people who could not pay me. And there are times that I've been slow in making payments myself. I would like to say that every business decision I've made has turned out great, and there were no slow payments. There were no issues. I've never had to file bankruptcy, but I've had some slow times. I've had cash flow problems. I've had a number of different things. Doesn't mean I don't know business. I don't report to anybody else. Haven't done that in decades. And it's a process. My thing is, you don't have to even agree with a person. My thing is, there's a level, and I'm really upset with that entire the way that entire thing is going, because this isn't an isolated situation. But I'm still reserving an all out thing, because that's negative energy that I don't want to be bearing myself, and I don't want surrounding me. But I have to, as a man, stand up and speak what I believe in, and speak it clearly. I am denouncing the attack on Dr. Anderson. I'm doing it clearly. And this does, and it doesn't mean that from a concept and a philosophical or ideological perspective that I don't agree with ADOS. I don't like where they're headed. I don't like where they're going. I think there may be a leadership problem. I think it needs to be rethought out. I think that it needs to be taught as an ideology and not so much as an organization or a movement. I think it's something that everybody needs to be aware of. Fundamental Black Americans and American descendants of slaves. I think you need to understand why it's important to be able to identify and make the distinction. But I think that it needs to be also taught alongside the benefits of Pan-Africanism and how they can both work in sync with one another. As far as leadership, I think that in any situation with anything, when you become too focused on the leadership, you lose sight of the message and the ideology, and you start to follow people, and then you become vicariously engaged and involved and in sync with them. And so you begin to fight their battles without really truly understanding what those battles are. I think that's something that we've definitely got to do a better job of understanding and teaching along the lines. Again, I denounce the attack on Dr. Claud Anderson, not because he's perfect, not because he's made all the right decisions, but because we have to have a level of respect for those who have gone before us, not to kiss their butts, not to sit up and say they did it all right, because if they did it all right, we wouldn't be where we are, but to sit up and say, thank you for taking it as far as you could. I have the baton now. I'm going to take it as far as I can. And I'm going to do it with a level of respect for you, because if you didn't do what you did, I wouldn't be in a position to do what I'm doing. That is how you handle that. I know I get a lot of pushback from that. I'm letting you know now, most of it I will not respond to. If there are real serious and legitimate and genuine questions that you want to ask, if I can get to them, if they get to me, I'll answer them. But answering responses to attacks and refutes of what I'm saying, I'm not here for that. You should know me better than that. I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to go back and forth. I don't care if you think I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm going to speak it, research it, look into it, take your stand. And if you take your stand and your stand is different mine, I'm good with that. I became good with that a long time. Everybody doesn't have to think like me. Everybody doesn't have to speak like me. Everybody doesn't have to believe what I believe. For me to stand along and fight, long as I know if you're from my people, we can find a way to work together. And if we don't get to that point, we're never going to accomplish anything. As long as we can be divided amongst our, along the lines of our philosophies, our ideologies, we're never going to achieve anything, because no entire group of people, 45 to 48 million strong, is going to agree on everything. But we've got to learn how to be disagreeable without being violently disagreeable. It's that simple. And on that note, I'm out of here. Don't forget to support the work that we're doing at the Odyssey Project. The way that you can support us will always be in the top paragraph of what we're doing. So on that note, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great day. I'm going to get back to my family and finish out my day, but I had to address that. Dr. Anderson, I respect and love you for everything you have done. Ms. Joanne, thank you for taking the time and making me feel as if I was being heard, and the wonderful support and advice you've given. I will never forget that. You guys have an unbelievable day and Christmas yourself in whatever way you celebrate it. On that note, I'm checking out of here. Thanks.